After last season, a very tough and disappointing season for both Washington fans and players, as their expectations were to make it to the playoffs for a third straight year. However, due to numerous injuries to key players like John Wall and Bradley Beal, they found themselves on the outside looking in. After that, things weren't looking too great for them to start this season either. They got off to a 2-8 start. John Wall was voicing his displeasure, Marcin Gortat was pointing fingers at the bench, little kids were crying at the game. It wasn't a great start to the season by any stretch of the imagination. But sometimes starts like this can lead to some of the best stories in the NBA. And that's the story that we're going to be taking a look at today. Before we get into any daily recaps from last night's games, I want to talk about the Washington Wizards and how they've gone from playing like a lottery bound team to playing like one of the best teams in the NBA. To start this off, let's take a look at what they have. So the Washington Wizards have a pretty well-rounded starting lineup. Of course, you have John Wall, one of the best point guards in the NBA, as your facilitator. You have Bradley Beal coming off screens and knocking down shots, Otto Porter Jr. spacing the floor, Gortat setting some great screens and running the pick and roll with John Wall, and Markieff Morris for some ISO and post scoring. So in the starting lineup, you have a bunch of guys with different skill sets, and when they all come together, they form one of the most complete starting lineups in the NBA. And it shows. In per game scoring, the Wizards had the second highest scoring starter lineup in the entire NBA. Wall, Beal, Gortat, Porter, and Morris combined for 83 points every single game. Only second to, I'm sure you know who, the Golden State Warriors. So a fantastic starting lineup, which leads us to their Achilles heel, the bench. Now, night and day difference from the starters. Off the bench, you have Trey Burke, Jason Smith, Thomas Satoransky, and Kelly Oubre. I'm gonna cut Oubre a bit of slack here because he's been getting better and has been their best player off the bench so far. But scoring wise, overall, the bench ranks 29th in the entire NBA. That's second to last. They only average 23 points per game. I can think off the top of my head of a bunch of teams who have one guy coming off the bench that's providing at least 15 points per game. But the topic of today's video isn't that the Wizards need to improve their bench. I mean, they do, and I'm sure they know this, but we're talking about how great the team has been recently. So let's start with last night. Last night, they beat the New York Knicks for their 5th straight win and their 15th straight home win. A 15-game home winning streak. After their 2-8 start, they're now 28-20 on the year. 4th in the Eastern Conference and only 2 games behind the 2nd-seeded Boston Celtics. In the month of January, they went 12-4, the 2nd best win percentage of that month. Once again, only second to the Golden State Warriors. In January, they really could do no wrong on the offensive end. They shot basically 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and averaged 109 points per game while holding opposing teams to 102 points per game. Well, what's the difference, you ask? Was it John Wall? Was he playing outside of his mind? Well, yes and no. I mean, he's been doing that all season long, but his January was really no different from his December, November, or October. Well then, was it Bradley Beal? Was he the big difference? Once again, yes and no. Him being able to remain healthy for the most part has helped out a bunch, and he's been shooting the ball really well, but his January was just about the same as what he's been doing the entire season so far too. Well, who was it? What happened? Markieff Morris. Markieff Morris happened. Listen to this. November and December, he has about the same months. Nothing too impressive at all. If anything, you could say he was a weak link in their starting lineup, giving you around 12 points and 5 rebounds per game while shooting an anemic 27-30% from 3 in those 2 months. However, in the month of January, he was red hot. Bumped his scoring up to 17 points per game and was grabbing just about 9 rebounds per game while shooting 49% from the field and 41% from 3. Him stepping up so far has been the main difference for the Washington Wizards. And also someone who a lot of people sleep on and has been doing a lot of work this entire season for the Washington Wizards is Otto Porter Jr. Looking at Otto Porter Jr.'s stats, you see 14 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, nothing too special at all. But then you realize that he has been the best 3-point shooter in the NBA this season. Yes, the #1 ranked 3-point shooter in the NBA, shooting it at a 46% clip. And in December and January, he was basically shooting 50% from 3. I mean, what team in their right mind wouldn't want an Otto Porter Jr. right now? Like I said, he reminds me of a better young version of Trevor Ariza the way he's playing at the moment. Overall though, what's helped this team is just their bonding. I mean, you have Bradley Beal on Twitter saying how much he loves the team, their antics in Boston, which I quite frankly admired because you don't see too much of that anymore, like true camaraderie amongst teammates. Great team chemistry is something that you really can't measure in stats. There is no stat line for a bunch of guys who decided to take it upon themselves to make something out of themselves when just about everyone else had written them off. They've really come together together and created one of the best stories the NBA has to offer at the moment. But that just about covers everything I want to say about the Wizards right now. Other than that, I wish my Pistons could just learn a thing or two from that team. Let me know what you guys think about them down in the comment section below, but now it's time to get into the recaps from last night's games. Like I said earlier, the Wizards beat the Knicks, giving them their 5th straight win and their 15th straight home win. Bradley Beal struggled a bit from 3, was only 2 of 6, but other than that, he was on fire. 28 points on the night on 12 of 18 shooting. John Wall uncharacteristically didn't have a single steal last night. He did have 15 points and 13 assists though. And for the Knicks, there was no Derrick Rose, who was out with a sprained ankle, and no Porzingis, who was apparently sick. But Carmelo Anthony contributed 26 points and Brandon Jennings had 21 points of his own for New York. After a couple of disappointing losses in a row, the Spurs got a much needed win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs posted up a big first quarter, outscoring the Thunder 31-17, but Russell Westbrook was doing everything in his power to keep the Thunder in the game. 27 points, 14 assists, and 6 rebounds for Westbrook, but Kawhi Leonard countered with 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists to give the Spurs the 108-94 win. The Toronto Raptors really needed this one. I mean, like really needed this one. I know some of the fans were starting to get a bit worried, and I'm not sure losing to the Pelicans last night would have helped that cause at all. But if you are a Raptors fan, you can thank Kyle Lowry. They were without DeMar DeRozan and had a 14-point deficit at the half, but they fought back to force overtime, where Kyle Lowry hit the first game winner of his career. I believe before this he was 0 of 20 on shots that came within the final 10 seconds of the game. That would basically be the shot that would have won them the game. I mean, he had hit some big shots before that in his career, but none were technically game winners. 33 points on the night for Lowry to go along with 10 assists, 20 points and 12 rebounds for Valanciunas, and Norman Powell once again steps up with 18 points in place of DeRozan. Listen to this stat line from James Harden, then let me know who you think won. 10 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and 5 turnovers. If you said Rockets by 22, then you probably watched the game last night. James Harden didn't have to do much at all last night, as the Kings just looked exhausted out there. I mean, Cousins with only 16 points and 7 rebounds. They really just seemed like they wanted to go home. 25 points and 11 rebounds for Ryan Anderson, and Eric Gordon had 17 off the bench for Houston in their 105-83 win over the Kings. After losing to the Warriors, the Blazers bounced back to beat the Hornets last night. 115-98 is your final score. 27 points for Damian Lillard and 18 points for CJ McCollum. Allen Crabbe also contributed off the bench with 21 points of his own. Jokic missed another game with his hip injury, and D'Angelo Russell returns for the Lakers as they get their 17th win of the year, 120-116 over the Denver Nuggets. Russell with a really good overall game, 22 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. Swaggy P contributes 23 of his own, and Lou Williams has 21 off the bench for LA. And like I said for Denver, they were without star big man Nikola Jokic once again, but veteran wingman Wilson Chandler did have 26 points off the bench. And that about wraps up all the action for the day 99 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season, and now it's time to get into the player of the day. Yesterday, you guys selected Isaiah Thomas and his 41 points and 24 in the fourth quarter alone to go along with 8 assists as your player of the day. And here are today's nominees. You have Kawhi Leonard and his 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Kyle Lowry and his 33 points, including a game winner and 10 assists. D'Angelo Russell's 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. Or Damian Lillard's 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like always, you guys can go vote right now on the Amino Hardwood NBA app. The link to the poll will be in the description box below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like on it if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more daily NBA videos. And until tomorrow, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!